Welcome to Changing Habits, Habit Change for Emotional Leaders. This is day 2. I hope you have had the chance to watch the video from day 1, or maybe you were here, and which is awesome. And if not, you certainly don't have to leave this video, but the content does kind of build on itself each day. So you definitely want to go back and look at that day 1 video. And you probably want to do the integration work from day 1 before moving into the integration work for day 2, because day 1 was choosing the habit that you want to work with. And if you haven't done that yet, it's going to be hard to start working with it. So with that in mind, let's get started. I wanted to just remind you, and I told you that I was going to do this each day because I really want you to see the bigger picture that we're building here for you and your overall success, right? So effective permanent weight loss, transforming your relationship with food. There are 5 key elements. The first one is self-acceptance and compassion for where you are today while you work to build the changes and see the changes that you want to see in your life. The second pillar is the pillar that is the topic of this whole challenge, which is habits. So this is just one piece of the overall puzzle. Okay, so I just want you to know that. So as you're going and you're like, what's going on here? There seems like there should be something else. Well, there is something else. That doesn't mean that the work that you're doing this week is not invaluable. Okay, and it can have a big impact on every single one of you. So I don't mean to discredit or say that it's not important. It's just that I want you to have this bigger picture. The third pillar is working with your thoughts so that your thoughts are consistent with the behavior that you want to take. Because as we know, our thoughts create our emotions, which in turn cause us to behave in certain ways. And so when we're always trying to put in all of our focus on changing our behavior, and it doesn't work, and we get really frustrated and we wonder, why do I always do the things or act in ways that I've said I don't want to act? And one of the big reasons is because our thinking is not consistent with the way we want to act. So that's a really big, beautiful pillar that we get to explore and work on. The fourth pillar is our emotions, because a lot of us, especially here drawn to this challenge, recognize that there are times in our lives when our emotions are, just like I said before, our thoughts create our emotions, create our behavior. And if our emotions feel really big and we don't know what to do with them, we feel overwhelmed by them. And sometimes the only tools that we have in order to deal with or cope with our emotions are things like food and other things outside of us, right? A lot of people will tell me, and I also shop online a lot, and I also scroll a lot, and I also veg out to Netflix, or whatever it is. We're looking for things outside of us to help us deal with the intensity of emotions that feel like we can't be inside them, like we can't handle them, like we just want to run away and get away from them as quickly as we can. So learning how to be aware and process our emotions is a key pillar number 4. And the last pillar is our nutrition for our bodies. Each one of us have a different body, a different nutritional needs, a different everything, different intolerances and different needs. And so the 5th pillar is that pillar of figuring out the nutrition that works best for my body, meaning when I don't have cravings, when my digestion is good, when I have good energy and I feel good, right, and can release weight. So those are the 5 pillars of successful permanent weight loss, which is really about changing your relationship with food. And so habits, we've kind of pulled out of the big picture, and we are working on that during this week. And so it's awesome that we get to, put a little laser focus on our habits and learn a little bit more about the neuroscience behind habit change, because we know a lot about the way our brains work. And that's what this method is based on, is the neuroscience that's available to us now, how our brain works, how we go about creating change. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about how our brains create neural pathways based on behaviors that we've taken, right? And I said that when we feed our brains or tell our brains to do something over and over, right? Whether that is hit the snooze button instead of getting up and moving, whether that is turning to food whenever you feel overwhelmed, whether that is eating ice cream every night after dinner or whatever it is. And none of these behaviors are bad. None of them are bad. It's just you may have decided, I can see what that brings in my life. I can see the effect that it has on my body, on my health, on my energy, whatever. And I'm not sure I like it, right? So it's not bad. It's just you're wondering if something else would serve you better. But when we teach our brain by doing a behavior over and over and over, it is so incredible, right? And it says, oh, got it. Lori wants to do X. So I'm going to make it really easy for her. I've got this beautiful pathway all set up. Lori, you don't even have to think about it anymore. When you see the yellow light, take your foot off the brake or off the gas and put it on the brake. I got this. Just automatically do that. Lori, when you feel overwhelmed, like you have too much work to do, just, go to the pantry and eat some food. Got it. You told me that was a good idea and that you like doing that. So I got it on autopilot for you. And if we're not paying attention, that's exactly what happens. But we have the ability to say, oh, wait a minute, beautiful efficiency seeking brain. Actually, that's not something that I want to keep doing. I need to help you reprogram you so that you can see that this other behavior here is better. Taking a little walk, doing a couple breathing exercises, something like that. So that's what we're working on, right? We're trying to create new neural pathways that support the behavior that serves us better instead of the behavior that we see we're not so crazy about. All right, so that's kind of, the bigger picture, what we worked on yesterday. And today, I want you to take your focus, right? I asked you yesterday in the integration work, what's the one thing that you'd like to look at? So I didn't say, list the 25 ways that you want to change by Thursday afternoon, because that is so unrealistic. And that's what we often do, right? I mean, let's be honest. Anybody else here besides me, right, would go into habit change 100% on day one? How many times did I tell myself, all right, on Monday, I'm only going to drink smoothies for a week, and I'm going to have my mail forwarded to the gym because, I'm going to work out there 5 hours a day, or whatever silly thing I thought that was going to serve me and get me to my goal as fast as possible, right? And how many times did that work? 0. It worked 0 times. And even if it worked for a few days or whatever, it would always go back, because that's not the way we change, right? And it's partly due to, some of the things, and keep thinking about the big picture, but it's also due to our beautiful brains, right? This is all about neuroscience. So I want to help you understand how your brain is actually functioning perfectly. But if we're not paying attention, it can also function in ways that take us down paths that we don't like. And what I mean by that is that, the brain does not like change. And the reason why is because you're alive. So the brain, especially the survival part of your brain, says, oh, well, we do that emotional eating thing, and it's working out pretty good, because it did help me shift out of that painful emotion. It got me out of pain. So look at that. That's a good thing, right? And then when we try to change, the brain says, I don't know about this. This seems uncomfortable. And I don't know if what you try is going to get us out of pain. And I really love you, and I really want you out of pain as quickly as possible. So I'd rather not change. Thanks. It's not so concerned about whether you're living your best life. It's more concerned about whether you're surviving moment to moment. And this is especially true for those of us who are living with some nervous system overwhelm, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the week. But so many of us in modern society are living in nervous system overwhelm, this accumulated stress of every single day, right? Especially over the last few years. In addition, a lot of us have situations or circumstances in our past that could be considered traumatic, overwhelming for the nervous system that we had at the time. And if that's where we are, then our brains are even more resistant to change because it thinks there's a lot of danger around. I really need to protect you. And so that's what's going on. And so today's topic is all about how do we kind of, I don't want to say trick, but how do we slide under the radar of that brain, beautiful brain of ours that says, I'm afraid of change. I'm not sure what's behind that door marked the unknown. I don't really know. And so I would just rather stay over here where at least I know what's going on. It may be that, I'm using food in ways that I don't like, or I'm not as healthy, or I'm experiencing these health issues, but I don't know what's on the other side of the door and it could be really ugly. So I'm good, right? So how do we kind of slide under the radar a little bit and keep that resistance of the brain to a more manageable level? It certainly isn't making that declaration that I'm only going to drink smoothies and go to the gym for 4 hours, right? The brain's like, oh my God, I do not feel safe, right? So for each of us, depending on who we are, where we are, what we've tried in the past, the state of our nervous system, we get to set what I call stepping stones. And these are small but meaningful shifts that we take over time to get me from where I am to where I truly want to go, right? Where I truly want to go does not have to be perfection. Where I truly want to go does not have to be sugar's bad, I should never eat sugar again. That's probably not the kind of life that any of us are really excited about, right? Maybe your ideal, when you really think about it and you ask your beautiful intelligence, your higher self, what would that look like? Maybe it's, I really enjoy either a dessert or this one thing that just brings enjoyment to my life. I'd really like to enjoy that once a week, twice a week, twice a month, whatever it is. There's no right or wrong answer. But if that's your ideal, and I'm just going to make up some stuff, right? So that we can kind of see how it would work in action, but I am not telling you that this would be the right thing for you. So let's just say, let's take alcohol, because a lot of people talk to me about, gosh, I noticed that I'm having a glass of wine every night, or, 2 or 3 drinks 3 or 4 times a week, or whatever it is. So let's just take that one. And maybe you decide, alcohol for me, I'd really like it to enhance my life in ways like, say, when I'm out to dinner and then there's this beautiful pairing of wine and food, or when I'm with other people, and they're enjoying a glass of wine or whatever. And I'd like to do that too. I think that's a place where it really brings value to my life. But I don't like, the constant every night coming home from work all stressed, wanting to calm myself and opening a bottle of wine, having 2 or 3 glasses every night. Like, that's not serving me. This is my ideal. And your ideal can change. You don't have to know exactly what it is today, but you want to have some idea of what you're working towards. So if you're over here and it's, 2 or 3 glasses for 5 nights a week, whatever, and you say, this is my ideal, this is where I want to be. What I'm talking about with stepping stones is not, okay, I'm going to drink 2 drinks twice a month, right? From where I am today. That's a really big jump. And so that's going to be hard. That's going to create some pain for you because, resisting pleasure is not what brains like to do. They seek pleasure, avoid pain in the most efficient way possible. That's how we're wired. That's why we have survived as a species. It makes sense. It's not a bad thing. If we weren't wired that way, we wouldn't have sought out our food in the way that we needed to when we were hunters and gatherers. We would not procreate. We would be in trouble as a species. So we don't have to beat up the brain for having this. We can just recognize, hey, sometimes that really serves. And sometimes I need to be aware so that I can direct my brain in another way, which we can. So here we are. We have where you are today, where you want to go. And we know if we just try to go straight to where we want to go, let's think of it like a ladder. That might be better, right? Here you are, here's where you want to go. And if you don't build some rungs along the way, you're just going to be constantly jumping up and trying to reach, right? And trying to get up to this place. but it's so far. How are you going to do that, right? Stepping stones, or we could say rungs on the ladder. Either way, it makes perfect sense. Rather than holding yourself to that level and saying, this is, I'm going to try again, I'm going to try again, I'm going to try again, right? For years or decades even, let's build some rungs so that we can constantly be making strides forward up to where you want to be. So in our example here, there are so many different ways. There's not one way that you could go about it. Maybe, this person would say, I'd like to have 1 glass of wine 4 days a week or 5 days a week as their first stepping stone. Let me just try that on and see what happens. And at the same time, I can be collecting some data around, why am I needing the wine in the first place, and help me understand what's going on and give me the opportunity to maybe meet that need in another way. But that's kind of, part of that bigger picture that I was talking about. So just kind of stick with our habits. What is the one thing that wouldn't hurt too much? I can still do that 4 nights this week. But I'm going to allow, 1 glass instead of 2 or 3, right? And just try that on and collect some data. And that's where, you want to try these stepping stones on, and you want to just kind of sit with them for a second. So when I say that, this person could just kind of feel into it a little bit. Is that something that I say, yeah, I think I can do that. That sounds pretty good. It still allows me to have that release or whatever, and I still get to have the same behavior. I'm just going to try to, be conscious and aware and shoot for only 1 or 1 most nights. And if there's a couple nights where I decide to, that's okay. Like, it can be as gentle as we need it to. So they're trying it on, and you're asking yourself, is that something that feels really good? Is it exciting? Or is it like, oh my gosh, that is going to be really hard for me? If there's that sense that's going to be really hard for me, that's not your stepping stone. Because what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to achieve it. And so that brings me to the next point, which is we want to capture the win every single day. Because what happens when we capture the win is we get this incredible motivation and energy, right? The energy of, oh my God, look at me. I am doing this. I set a goal and I'm accomplishing it. And that starts to change the thinking about who we are, which was another pillar that I talked about, right? And if you're thinking, what if your thinking was, I can do anything I set my mind to. I am somebody who, when I decide something's good for me, I always follow through. Like, if you knew that's who you were, you would have so much more ease and flow going about the things that you want to create. So that's what capturing the win every day does for you. It helps shift you, and it shows you who you really are, which is somebody who can absolutely meet your goals. You just need the right tools and the guidance and support, right? But you are, I promise you, you are somebody who can reach all of your goals. And so capturing the win every day reminds you of that and keeps you in that space and in that energy. So we want those 2 things to come together. We want your stepping stone to be set to somewhere where you can get the win every day. Sometimes people in the programs that I teach, sometimes we're trying to build a little bit of what we call morning practice, where we sit down and we connect with ourselves and our intentions and get really calm and centered and grounded. And that morning practice is a really important aspect of creating and achieving your goals. And so, but it's hard for a lot of people because we're so busy. We're so, oh my gosh, I have all these things to do. I can't spend time in doing these things. And so what we do is we literally start very often with a morning practice of, say, 30 seconds, literally 30 seconds, just to take a couple of breaths and repeat, the intention for the day. And if that's where we start, great. That's the first rung on the ladder, but it allows them to get the win every day. And they watch themselves. Wow, I did that. I'm somebody who has a morning practice. I'm somebody who does these things. And it really is just, it's part of human nature. You watch yourself succeed, your confidence builds, your motivation, and your willpower increases. And so that's what I really want you to think about that as you're setting your stepping stone. What will allow me to capture the win every single day? And this stepping stone is not something that requires your willpower, right? It's some mindfulness, some gentle leaning into it. But if we're going to rely on willpower, we already know how that works, right? Willpower is a muscle. It's there sometimes, it's certainly not other times. So we don't want to have to rely on our willpower to do things, to white knuckle, to control ourselves. That's the old way, right? That's the way that has not worked for anybody. And so we don't want to rely on willpower. It gets tired. It's not there for us in a lot of situations. So we want to rely on our gentle stepping stones and our consciousness, right? So these are some of the things that I really want you to think about as you set your individual stepping stones. Sometimes it's hard because we want to shoot for that, you know, that big goal up here. But remember, when we're just jumping up, trying to reach something that's just too tall, we're never going to get there, right? And even if we, you know, think, oh, I made it 75% of the way there and I'm hanging on, you know, to that rung and I'm trying to get to, it's just that struggle is never going to serve us, and we're not going to be successful. So let's just set that aside. And your brain may say, oh, but it's going to take so long. And I really want to be there by this weekend. Or, you know, I just want to get there because of the pain that I feel from where I am right now. And that's the time for us to really sit down and have a really lovely conversation with our brain, an understanding conversation where we say, I know you're not happy in this place. And that's okay. That's just showing you that there's something else better for you. But rather than going down the same route that we've been down so many times, let's try something new and know that this is actually the fastest way there. And you have lots of evidence that that's true because you have tried that. You have tried the all or nothing approach so many times, and it has failed you every single time. You didn't fail. That approach fails us because it doesn't work with who we are. It doesn't work with our programming. So working with our programming is always the fastest way there. If it takes a month longer, if it takes 2 months longer, who cares? At least we're making progress. At least we're on that road instead of traveling, you know, the same little amount over and over and over. Instead, we just keep building and we see that's actually much faster. So that's the integration work for today. Is I want you to spend some time with your beautiful higher self, your intuition, and really try on some things for your stepping stone. Don't just set one and say, yeah, that sounds good. Really ask yourself, check in with your body, especially your gut. Your gut's going to tell you, yes, I'm excited about that stepping stone. It may be so small. It may be, you know, decreasing the sugar in my coffee by 10%. You know, who cares? It doesn't matter what it is. The important thing is that you're on that path. You're honoring yourself by taking action, and it's action that is not going to create too much resistance in your brain. So, all right. So you've got the integration work. I hope you found the workbook and you downloaded that. And there's a little bit more in today's workbook assignment that you can look at that will help you in setting your stepping stones. But this is, you know, really one of the most important aspects of habit change is the stepping stone and how to go about setting the one that fits you. I'm looking forward to seeing your stepping stones in the Facebook group, because remember, that's how we are able to, you know, have our community. And it's also how I can guide you. Maybe you have a question. Maybe you're not quite sure what stepping stone would serve you best, or gosh, I don't know. I've been all or nothing for so long. I don't even know how to set something that is you know, further down on that road. So I can help you, I can support you, and it's fun, isn't it, to kind of connect with each other and see what everybody else is working on, and see, you know, your example serves somebody else incredibly. And so I'm really trying to build this, you know, sisterhood of habit changers, and really get some beautiful energy, because I really fully, you know, when women come together, stuff gets done. It just does. And there's a beautiful energy to it. So I'd love to see your responses to today's integration work, or if you haven't posted yesterday's integration work, definitely would love to see your habit, what you're working on in particular. But yeah, so let's continue to show up in this space, learn what we can about habits, see the way that things can be done differently and successfully. And I'm also going to put in the Facebook group, and in the replay email as well, the link to schedule a call with me, because I've had a number of calls already, and it's just so helpful for me to understand you a little bit, so that I can, you know, help you set these to get through the integration work, to do it in a way that really serves you. And so I'm going to put the link in there for us to have a call. There are a few spots left, so I hope that if you're somebody who's really wanting to have a free call, you know, where we can connect on that little bit deeper level, that you do sign up for that. And yeah, is there any questions about today, or about the integration work, or anything else that I can answer before we jump off and I let you get to work with your stepping stones? No, okay, perfect. So I'm going to just let you guys get to it, and I'm going to go over to the Facebook group and see where everybody is, and how things are going. And I am just super excited to continue this with you, and you're all inspiring, beautiful souls. And I'm so happy that you're here and getting this information, so that things can start to change in a really beautiful way. So have a great day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.